Hello, friends. It is Victoria. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. So I was not expecting to make this video, but I'm going to let myself be a follower for a minute. That sounds so pretentious. Oh my god. So basically, the other day I started hearing about the movie The Idea of You, and I saw my mom watching it by herself the other night, and I kind of just heard rumblings about how it was like an uncomfortable age gap love story. It had Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Galitzine. Obviously, Anne Hathaway is Anne Hathaway. I've always loved her, and I've heard of Nicholas. Like I've seen Red, White, and Royal Blue. I thought it was super cute, if not like really cheesy, and the writing and editing and stuff was kind of questionable at times, but like the performance and the chemistry and everything was completely chef's kiss. I'd also seen commentary videos making fun of other movies he had been in, notably Purple Hearts. So I was kind of expecting this to be cringy, and I knew the premise. Apparently it was based on a Harry Styles fanfic, which apparently is not true, but I guess the author has given some kind of contradictory statements about that, about like it was inspired by Harry but also inspired by a bunch of other celebrities, and it wasn't directly like a fanfic, but it was a novel that had him in mind. The kind of tagline is that it's a Harry Styles fanfic, and it's part of, you know, the After series and other things that are based on Harry Styles fanfics, the growing genre that it is. I am a former diehard Directioner. In their heyday, I was completely obsessed with them. I swore up and down when I was 14. I would get in arguments with people over how determined I was to marry Harry Styles. When I got older, like I was convinced it was going to happen. When I made YouTube videos in middle school, I went through a period of time where I would end all of them by asking Harry Styles to go out with me if he happened to be watching it. Like I was so delusional. So I get the lore, okay? I resonate with the lore. But all that to say, I started seeing it on like my newsfeed. It just recommended to me different commentary videos, and I started watching it. Notice that there seems to be a big difference in reception of purely the movie versus people who have also read the book and are comparing it to the book. I have not read the book. Apparently the book is a lot more fucked up, and apparently Solène is a lot less likable in the book. Apparently it's more explicitly stated that like Hayes has like a trauma bond type attraction to older women, that he was like previously sexually taken advantage of by an older woman, and Solène is apparently like super psychopathic about it. Instead of being empathetic to the fact that her partner was like sexually abused, she just feels like jealous of the woman that abused him, and it's like super fucked up. So I'm glad they didn't include that. Also, the way bigger age gap. Apparently in the book he's 20 and she's still 40, versus in the movie where she's 24, or he's 24 and she's still 40. So it's a 16-year difference. And I am glad they made that difference, because I definitely would have been a lot less okay with the original age gap with a 20-year-old and a 40-year-old. Talking about fictional characters is slightly different than talking about like real world implications of like age gap relationships. For the most part, as long as everyone has a fully developed frontal lobe, I really don't care. I am 24. I'm going to be 25 this year. I personally don't think I would ever be in a relationship with a 40-year-old. But I wouldn't judge someone who was like really, once you're in like your mid-20s and you start to get like a fully developed brain, I kind of just believe you have the capacity to make your own decisions. And I do like how that relationship in particular, not to be all like, oh, if you're famous, you can't be taken advantage of, but there is something about like the younger person in the relationship is also powerful and influential in their field, and is like actively pursuing the relationship as well. I like how they just kind of presented them on equal footing. It helped me feel like way better about it. Also the thing of her husband having previously, if you haven't seen the movie, I feel like I'm just describing elements of it like out of context. This is not going to be like a structured thing. We're just getting lost. I'm getting lost in The Idea of You. Just seeing these things on my timeline, I started like consuming more stuff about it. And then it basically ended with me getting a Prime subscription again, just so that I could watch this movie in full and like really see how I enjoyed it. I did not expect to get as inundated with it as I have. It's not a perfect movie by any means, and I have issues with it that we will talk about, but like it is impossible to overstate how inundated my brain has gotten with this movie. It has begun to invade my dreams. It is taking over almost my every thought. Like, I am surprised that I have not started to just see the faces of Anne Hathaway and Nicholas Galitzine just in strangers that I pass on the street in my everyday life at this point, because I'm kind of obsessed. It is everything my 14-year-old self would have covered in whipped cream and devoured with my bare hands. And it is everything that my newly single self at 24, almost 25, did not realize I needed, but it's very comforting. It's very brain candy, and we're going to talk about it. So we're going to give a basic summary for those that have not seen the movie. This like the Spark Notes version. I have not read the book. I've just seen the movie. Apparently the book is like way more fucked up, and she's a lot less likable in the book. I don't think I'm going to read it. Also, the age gap is like way bigger, and it just seems a lot less comfy. But apparently the author is like not happy with the way that the movie was portrayed, which makes me think maybe I'm not going to be happy with the way the book was originally written. I have no idea. So the movie centers on Solène Marchand, a 40-year-old single mother to a 16-year-old daughter, Izzy, and Hayes Campbell. He's a 24-year-old member of super popular boy band August Moon. It's basically Solène's cheater ex-husband, Daniel, who gives the vibe of like a rich father that doesn't really show up for his kid, but just gives affection through extravagant gifts. That's like the vibe you get from him pretty early on. But he gets his daughter VIP, like all access passes to Coachella, including a meet and greet with August Moon, which is funny because he doesn't really get that she's not super into them anymore. But they're still going to Coachella. She's obviously really into it. Solène is originally planning on going camping alone. Daniel backs out at the last minute and has to go on a work trip. So she's stuck taking the kids to Coachella. They are just like exploring the festival, going to like St. Vincent, stuff like that. And she just doesn't really care. She's unbothered. She's like reading in this tent that the August Moon meet and greet is going to take place. She's just waiting for it. She has to go to the bathroom. Just want to point out a little technicality with this, okay? I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the video for it, but if I decide to put in video from the movie, I'll put it in here. But she's literally given the instruction when she asks where the bathrooms are. The mom goes, "Oh, it's just out there and to the right."
Yeah, right out there. The VIP ones are on the right.
On the right? Okay, great. Thank you.
Tell me why this woman gets out of the trailer and ignores two trailers that are to the right of her, and then goes to the center of the second row of trailers. So just out and to the right equals, just in the middle of the second row of trailers that's directly in front of you. That's how she interpreted those instructions. And no one pointed that out. I just wanted to point that out, that was so funny that she, like, it was not natural at all. But anyway, so she ends up in the trailer of Hayes Campbell, and it's this little meet cute where she thinks it's the bathroom, and then turns out it's his trailer, but they're attracted to each other, and he asked her to hang out. He doesn't get her name. She ends up leaving. They meet each other at the meet and greet. They're totally flirting. He dedicates a song to her, pretends to change the set list at the last minute. She's all smitten. This 100% would have worked on me. I literally, even knowing what I know about like boy bands and shit, I'm like, this is a move, and bitch, it's so working. So she just has like her little, starry-eyed, dazzling, like Sam Montgomery moment. She is YN. She is Hilary Duff. We're living. She gets back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. She's back in Silver Lake at her art studio. She's an art collector. He shows up randomly. He tracks her down. Internet sleuths it out. He shows up, buys out the gallery. They end up talking. I'm giving like a play-by-play of this plot. I have seen this movie too many fucking times in the past 2 days. I have no notes. This is all from memory. He like buys out everything, but he wants to look at more art. So they take her car to go to Glendale to her artist friend's warehouse to look at more art. They have like a discussion about their life, and she talks a bit about her major and stuff. And he basically asks her out, says they should get a bite to eat. She asks him what they're doing. He gives I haven't met anyone like you. Basically, like, you're not like other girls, but in different words of just like, you don't care that I'm famous, you know, that whole thing. Plus, like, you're hot because she's Anne fucking Hathaway. Like, of course she is. Side note, I love that society is over the Anne Hathaway hate train. For those wondering, yes, that absolutely was a thing like 10 years ago when she won her Oscar. Everybody just decided that she was like suddenly pretentious and unlikable. I personally never got it, but people just didn't like her. She never even did anything. Like, it was just one of those things where people just decided they were done with a woman for a few years until they remembered how amazing she was and that she never did anything wrong. But side note, so yes, Anne Hathaway is fucking gorgeous. And so he's like, you're Anne Hathaway and you're fucking gorgeous. Side note, like, I want to get to know you better. She's all, oh, I appreciate your honesty. And so they go to her house. Okay. And then they have the whole thing of her fridge is broken and they go through everything in her fridge and then make sandwiches from it as if they are not super rich people and cannot Uber Eats. Like, I know this is probably trying to go for some kind of like rom-com, oops, we're in a conflict, we need to figure it out together, and this is the plot device, but like, it's not appealing. We could not have just fucking Postmated something. Like, we had to make sandwiches with questionably like safe to eat mayo. I don't understand, but so that happens, and then they have another life talk. Okay, so they have another life talk. He asks about what happened with her ex-husband. She gives an amazing monologue. I think it's like maybe the main monologue of the movie, possibly the only one, but it's like the main monologue. It's so good, talking about kind of the dissolution of her marriage. Anne Hathaway's acting is top-notch. I saw a lot of reviews saying that the acting really saved this movie because she elevated the material, and I think that's so true. The writing was like the main thing that could definitely have used some improvements, and we'll kind of get into it a bit, but like, she really smoothed it out and just gave it a lot of connective tissue with her performance. But the monologue's fucking great. And I just want to say, the lines that Nicholas Galitzine was given in response to that amazing monologue, and he just says like, well, we're sitting here eating amazing sandwiches and maybe we're not all Daniel. It's like, really, it felt like a missed opportunity. It was very like Not All Men, and Withcindy was like, because it's fictional characters, I'll give it a pass and it's a little less fucking cringe, but like, it's still pretty cringe. Like, I don't know, we couldn't have had like a more natural sounding line that's not super try hard, but like maybe a 24-year-old dude would say that. Just wanted to come in and add something I thought could have been cute was how he mentioned something that she said in her monologue about not getting a fairy tale grow up, about like when she noticed distance between her and her husband, she said to herself like, so you didn't get a fairy tale grow up. It would have been like cute if he said something about how like she still deserves a fairy tale or something like that, like, which still probably would have been cheesy, but it's just the not all men of it all that kind of took me out of it for a minute. Then they have this cute moment at the piano. They make out. Their makeout scene's really good. She keeps referencing that she could be his mother, and I'm like, girl, if you were a teen mom, maybe. You're 16 years older than him, so like, if you were a teen mom, possibly, but you're also not his mom. She gets into this whole insecure spiral thing about being older than him. He doesn't care. They have a really good makeout. He leaves. Her daughter comes home like 30 seconds later, so that was good timing. He is texting her, asking when he can see her again. Her daughter goes off to camp to be a camp counselor. Hayes invites Solène to his hotel in New York. This is how you know she has rich lady problems. Imagine you're like getting asked by a hot dude to meet him across the country in a hotel, and your only like dilemma is whether or not you should, like whether or not you're feeling bold enough. Like, imagine having that level of financial freedom. You can be like, do I feel like meeting my lover across the country in New York at this hotel? And he probably would offer to pay for it, but like, he doesn't mention paying for it. He was just like, you should come meet me, because he probably knows that money is no fucking object for her, and that it literally is just like up to her whim whether or not she wants to do that. Just side note, like, that is luxury right there. Like, the only thing holding me back from living out my YN fantasy is just my own self-confidence. Like, that is where I want to be. Anyway, so she decides to do it. She shows up wearing this incredible fucking dress. They have a pretty steamy scene. They show a little bit of the foreplay, but I'm doing all the fucking hand motions. They show a little bit of the foreplay, but none really of the actual like sex scene. They just show a really cute scene of them laying on the bed and having like blissed out faces, which Another note, okay, little camera angle note. I would have really liked it if they changed the camera angle so that we could see both of their faces evenly. If you see the movie and you see that moment, you get what I mean. We only really see Anne's face, and then we see, or like Solen's face, and then we see a little bit of Hayes' face. But we're in like a side angle. I wish we had been like up and above them so that we could have seen both faces evenly. That would have been better for me. Like on the New Girl episode Virgins, when Nick and Jess have their first time, the end of that episode, if you know, you know, the ending scene of that where it sees the credits and we see both of their faces, and it's like the perspective allows us to see both of their faces and their reactions evenly. That adds so much to it. I wish they had done that similar camera angle with them, even in the dark, even with like, you know, minimal facial expression, like minimal dialogue, whatever. I feel like that would have been a big thing for me that would have made a difference. Small little detail. But anyway, it was a really cute scene. They have the thing of them ordering like room service after. I'm giving a 20-minute summary of this movie. I don't care. I remembered this in too much detail, and I need to inflict the detail on the world. So then she gets asked to join him on the European tour. She fights it initially, but decides to go along with it. They are trying to kind of be secret about their relationship. He introduces her to the band and like the rest of the people as his art consultant, as if that's going to make it seem any more discreet. It's like, clearly you guys are just hooking up, but like whatever makes you feel better, I guess. They are really clumsy with trying to keep this relationship private. Someone pointed this out, but like on this song that they have called Masterpiece, this bitch Hayes is in a completely different part of the stage, looking at the back of the stage on the line, "You're such a masterpiece," every single night, every single performance, singing it to the back of the stage while the rest of the band is on the front of the stage singing to the crowd. You're telling me in this August Moon equals One Direction ass universe, people would not be catching on to this? Bitch, the Twitter fandom would have been on that shit by day 2 of the tour. Would have been like, who the fuck is Hayes singing to? Everyone's in the front of the stage. Why is he's singing to someone. Someone would have known that. Every single video of the, like if we're talking real life, every single video of that performance on this tour would have been like every angle that someone had, it would be on Twitter. People would be like, can anyone see anyone on the side of the stage? Who is he singing to on the side of the stage? People would be sleuthing, looking through footage, editing shit. Like it would have been insane. They don't really show that part, but you know that would have happened. And he's just singing to someone off stage on the same line every single night, thinking that his fans aren't going to catch up to that shit. Anyway, clumsiness. He continues to be clumsy and impulsive, kissing her in Paris. They get papped. They're not aware of it at the time, but like they're just being cute. He asks her to go with him on a little side trip within the tour to Ibiza at this like summer house that he and this other guy in the band, Ollie, are going to rent out. And there was some other girls that they are just tagging along for the trip. They're hooking up with the dudes. Like, who knows? We never even know their names. Like they're kind of just, stock character mean girls that have no personality except to just ride the coattails of the men around them and be nasty to people for no reason. We have this moment where Solen feels insecure about wearing a swimsuit around them, even though she has the exact same body type as them and she's Anne fucking Hathaway. But she wears this like denim dress, and then the girls are mean about it. Like, is this a funeral? And the way I would have fucking ripped them apart. Like, not everybody has the same relationship with their body that you do, Becca. Sorry, is your name Becca? Because I forgot if you even have a name, because you are such a fucking carbon copy of a mean girl. Anyway, and then it's like revealed through this conversation they have poolside that Hayes dedicating a song to her was a bit that they do all the time. She gets embarrassed of like, oh my God, I'm a 40-year-old woman and I fell for this just move that this 24-year-old dude just pulls with everybody and I'm super naive. She goes into this little spiral. But then the mean girl people start making fun of this other girl, Hannah, that Hayes apparently did that with, that was 33 and clueless. She was like a Swedish actress, whatever. And they're like making fun of her. Hayes says nothing when Hannah is mentioned, okay? This is important. He says nothing around them and kind of makes it seem like Hannah's just this joke. And then Solen gets uncomfortable. She leaves, whatever. And then she's a little unsure at the idea of just being his type. Like, is this some kind of just fetish thing you happen to have that I just played into? Do you even like me? She doesn't say it in those words, but she's a little upset. And she's like, you know, I fell for your fuckboy move and it worked on me and it worked on Hannah too. Good job. And then this bitch comes out and he gets all offended that she brought up Hannah. And she's like, I'm not offended that you slept with older women. I don't even mind if you have a type. But then he gets all offended and is like, I actually liked Hannah. Not that that's any of your business. And it's like, really, bitch? Why weren't you saying that to the people outside by the pool when they were making a joke out of her? You're like contributing to them like making fun of these women that you've like hung out with, and this is some kind of joke that you aren't actually into them, and it's just some kind of bit, just some kind of older women fetish thing, and you don't say anything about it. But then when she thinks that the older women thinks that she might be being made a fool out of, and is like, well, this happened with Hannah too. You're like, I actually liked her. It's like, really? You're not acting like it. Why are you letting your friends make fun of her then? Why are you? That was so offbeat for me. And then he goes into, like, this whole argument was weird. She, like, names the movie title. She's like, I got caught up in the idea of you. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, she did the thing. She did the thing where she says the name of the movie in the movie. And then he does the thing where he goes from being, like, mildly douchey to then, like, super emotional. And she's, like, solved all his emotional problems. And for the first time in my life, I'm actually happy. I normally don't even know what happiness feels like. I'm just numb, and I feel like I'm supposed to feel something. But with you, I actually feel everything. And it's cute, but it's also like inflating a bunch of emotional significance into this dude that has kind of had no personality this entire time. Like, a main criticism that I've seen in all the commentary that I've seen on this movie, because like as I watch more, obviously my feed gives me more and more that I continue to watch, so I've kind of become a bit of an expert. But a criticism I've seen is that both characters are kind of given like no depth in the writing. They have like no actual personality, and I kind of completely agree. I actually feel like if anybody has like actual depth or is given some dimension in the writing, weirdly enough, I feel like Izzy has the most dimension. I feel like we actually kind of know who she is as a character, like what she likes, her dislikes, and kind of where she's at. We can kind of imagine where her head is at with her parents and stuff like that. I feel like if anything, she's given a little more dimension than either of the main characters, especially Hayes. Hayes is such a wonder bread protagonist. Like, honestly, he seems like a cool dude, kind of, but like he kind of goes along with his friend's fuckboy tendencies and then gets like defensive when Solen thinks that she is getting those fuckboy tendencies, and he's like, I suddenly care about Hannah. Not that that's any of your business. It's like, and then he's suddenly numb and he's happy with us and he's writing music that actually means something, so you can't go. And it's like, it's a cute little profession of feelings moment, but it's also women aren't responsible for men's emotional well-being, and it may have had higher stakes if we were given more of an idea of who he actually is. Like, we'll get into it in a second, but like, yeah, very little depth. He is saying all these things that he feels around her, and she says that she can't feel those too, kind of pushes him away, pretends she like doesn't feel the same, that good moment. And then they break up. She goes home. Hello again. So I just switched tops to a tube top that I basically never wear out because I'm always afraid of flashing people in it, because my other top was getting very damp. So we will continue. Where was I? Also, in the background when all this is happening, he's like gradually working on a song that she keeps mentioning that she likes. And so he's kind of like writing a song for her in the background. So people find out about them. She has this really uncomfortable montage where people keep coming up to her and like oversharing about what they think about her dating this dude and how their daughters are going to be heartbroken and all this shit that's like not her problem at all. Like, maybe teach your daughter to have realistic expectations that this adult male that she doesn't know is not going to be her boyfriend. Like, maybe set her up for the real world. I don't really know what to tell you. She and her daughter finally have a conversation about it. And then it comes to like one of the best lines in the movie, but also like one of the most unfounded. Her daughter's asking her about the fact that she broke up with him, and she's like, yeah. Or she's like, do you like him? Is he a feminist? And then she's like, I mean, he's still a guy, but yeah, he's a feminist. And she's like, why would you break up with a talented, kind feminist? And it's like, what? Okay, this is a funny line, but like, why did you not add anything to the script to give him some actual fucking characterization? There's nothing to imply. Like, we've been given nothing to imply that. He didn't even stand up for Hannah when people were like talking shit about her by the pool. Like, we see nothing about him standing up for women at all. Like, he can understand implied consent, I guess, but like, we get nothing that drives him, nothing that actually like really causes him pain, except for like a moment where the lead singer of his favorite band like called him to his house and he thought that he was going to be like taken seriously as an artist and maybe do a collab, but he actually was just called there for his daughter's birthday and just to be entertainment and like take pictures with them, and he felt like a joke in that moment. So he has a thing about like not being taken seriously. His dad didn't want a relationship with him, but now he does. He's like a fair weather father type situation. That's like really it. And then this thing he mentions during their fight about feeling numb all the time, and she makes him feel everything, and she gives him, you know, the emotional vibrance that he wants in his life. That's like all we get. And then this line about him being a talented, kind feminist, like it's just a little out of left field. And then she goes to his studio to apologize and like make up with him, and then we get the acoustic version of Dance Before We Walk, which is the song that he's been working on this whole time, that he's been writing for her. So he performs this like beautiful acoustic version of it in the studio in his mind, like thinking that it's about, you know, his ex, and then he sees her, and then they have this really good conversation, and then that really hot moment of like, I need a moment, okay, I've had a moment, and then they like make out. It's really good. Side note, just want to say, okay, I like almost forgot to mention it because the movie forgets to mention this. When Solenn keeps having these little like crises about feeling insecure about the relationship, when they have their fight in Ibiza, all this stuff, when she is talking to her friend about possibly having a relationship with a client, she keeps like kind of comparing it to her husband cheating on her, but she keeps not bringing up the fact that the main difference between those two situations is that her husband was cheating on her. Hayes is like, if the roles were reversed, do you think anyone would give a shit? Like, did anyone give a shit with Daniel and Ava? Meaning purely about the age gap situation. And she's like, I did, Tracy did, Izzy did. I'm like, they probably cared, and you probably cared because of the infidelity of it all, which is not present here. They keep like omitting that difference. They keep just forgetting to mention, by the way, you're not cheating on anyone. That's the main thing. They keep acting like the main thing is that like we just hate Daniel and Daniel's just awful, which like, yeah, he is, and we do, but like, you're not betraying anybody. Same thing with her friend with when she's like, so when Daniel dates like a hot younger person, it's gross, but if I do it, it's okay. And she's all confused about that. And her friend's like, yeah, because I hate Daniel and I love you, which is a good friend response, but also a good friend would be like, yeah, because you're not fucking cheating on anybody. He's mid-20s. He has a fully developed frontal lobe. You're not cheating on anyone. You're not neglecting any responsibilities. You're not taking advantage of anybody. It's a healthy relationship. Like, I really think in general, like, if everyone has a fully developed brain and it's a healthy relationship and no one's taking advantage of anybody, honestly, do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, I really don't care. But they keep, like, just acting as if those are the same situations, and it's just a matter of interpretation, as if there is clearly infidelity and betrayal in one situation and not that in the other. And so she's just on this kind of, like, low-key shame spiral. No one really is pointing it out to her directly that, like, dude, you're fine. So they make up in the studio. It's all cute. Dance Before We Walk, I guess, gets, like, recorded and released, I think. Then they have a montage of them living, like, a normal dating life. It's super cute. Paparazzi starts getting outside Solenn's house. There's this really juicy confrontation between Daniel and Solenn and Hayes, where Daniel has a couple Freudian slips in a row and refers to Solenn as his wife multiple times, where she shuts it down. And I was like, kind of, it just, Daniel's fucking behavior in this, like, honestly, he's such a believable, just like narcissistic asshole. Like, whoever played him did a great job because I fucking hated him. He had like 5 minutes of screen time and he's just awful the entire time. But it's so realistic, as I just want to point out this little like tactic that he does. So he was like, you're dating the kid, refers to him as a kid when he is a 24-year-old adult. It was like, you're dating a kid that our daughter had on her bedroom wall when she was 10. It's a little fucking weird. So he's using that as an example of like her behavior being weird. She then takes that and is like, it's ironic you would say that because she never had a poster of him next to her bed. It was Rory. It was always Rory. In my opinion, that's a complete fucking slay. That's a complete slay of like, this example you're giving me is actually inaccurate and it just shows like what a terrible fucking father you are. But then, like a fucking narcissistic weirdo, he's like, oh, zing. And he acts like that point that he just made to like emphasize how weird she is, it actually doesn't matter because he's inaccurate. And that's her being semantic. That's her being ridiculous, actually taking that same point and throwing it back in his face. She's being extra when she does that. He's making a good point. That hit too close to home for me. I hate when people do that. When they like bring shit up and then you're like, funny you would say that because you're actually wrong, and it just like further shows my point of like you being wrong. And then all of a sudden it's like you're bringing up semantics like, oh, zing, oh, you got one, oh my god, good job. It's like suddenly not a big deal. Yeah, it was like a big deal out of a tiny little thing. But anyway, then conflict starts to happen where is getting like picked on at school, and she's getting comments online about being a horrible mother, and so she decides to end it, which I get, but it's also like you cannot control the internet, and just because you break up with a dude does not mean the internet is going to stop coming after you. They're still going to know your name. They're still going to be concerned about you. Like, you are still a woman in his life, whether you are an ex or a current girlfriend, and like you can't fucking put the genie back in the bottle. Like, you just can't. Like, it is what it is. You might as well just like be happy at this point, I think. But she decides to end it and maybe just like jumpstart the process of the public forgetting about it, to be fair, and just like, let me just exit the picture, and then hopefully that'll just force everything else to resolve itself, which I get. But I just want to point out, only one commentary channel pointed out this detail and how fucked up it is. She picks him up at the airfield, the airport, whatever, okay? He comes out of his private jet into her car. She breaks up with him in her car, gives him all the shit in her car. Immediately when he gets in there, she breaks up with him and then tells him to leave. She literally breaks up with him in like the most asshole-ish way ever. And I double-checked it. There's not an edit. She picks him up, he gets in there, they have the conversation, and she kicks him out. It's like, why not, like, why not have the conversation, like, on the way to where you're dropping him off, or like even just have like a super tense, awkward, quiet drive there, and then have a thing of him being like, what's up? Like, you haven't said anything the whole drive, and then give him this stuff and break up with him and then have him go. But she literally, like, she just adds insult to injury, and she just kind of looks like an asshole because she literally breaks up with him and then kicks him out and like makes him find his own way home. We just we're not supposed to acknowledge that. We're not supposed to notice that. But then he still, after getting dumped for the second time by her and just continuing to not give up, he finds his own way. He finds his own ride after he's been kicked out of her car, and then takes that ride to her house to continue to like beg her for a second chance, saying that he auditioned for the band when he was 14 and it shouldn't destroy a life. And she's saying like, you're going to have a big, beautiful life. Like, this isn't going to destroy your life. And then they have a super somber kiss with this really pretty light color changing effect thing. I think it's meant to reflect the color scheme of the painting that has kind of like brought them together. The Unclose Me painting with the trees. It's such a pretty painting. I love that they made that painting. I love that the art in this movie is actually good. Like, the music is actually good. The art is like actually, it's arting, okay? So it is believable that this is like actually good art. But that Unclose Me painting is so psychedelic. It's so beautiful. It's so colorful. I love that that was like a central piece to the movie. But they have this kissing moment and the lights are changing, and I think it's a reference to that painting, and it's really beautiful. They don't, I think, have sex. I don't think they have sex. I think they just have like a really emotional, like final sad kiss. And then basically he says, let's try to revisit this in 5 years. You know, your daughter will be out of school for the most part, and she'll be living her own life. I'll be someone no one cares about anymore. And so Len's saying it's too long. You know, I don't want you to wait for me. You take a chance of or if you get a chance of happiness, you take it. I'll do the same. And he leaves the watch with her. And I just want to say, maybe one of my favorite scenes of this movie, this is another scene where Anne Hathaway is just fucking killing it, the acting game. Like, she really elevates this material. One of my favorite moments, honestly, is right after he leaves. And it's just this silence, like the music like dies down. And she, right after he leaves, and she sits on a chair. And then she like collapses in the chair. And her face is all still. And then Leave the Light On by Maggie Rogers starts in again, which it's also played at the beginning of the movie, but then it comes back in near the end. And right as it does that, she just breaks. Like, her face breaks and she starts crying, and has this just journey on her face, and it's so good. And it's like, just says everything it needs to be said of just like, I was so fucking happy and I just let it go. Like, what the fuck did I just do? And you just see all that in her face with the music. The use of Leave the Light On by Maggie Rogers in the beginning and end, by the way, it was like such a good choice. I feel like that was such a good song choice for this movie. For like a song that's not within the universe of the movie, that wasn't like made for the movie. I feel like that was great. And then we get a jump to 5 years ahead where Solena's still running her art gallery. I love that she still had her gallery. I love when women don't lose their jobs for shit that happens in their personal lives. I love when, you know, if they have to deal with some ostracization from the media or whatever, I love when they can keep their job. I love when their fucking businesses don't get vandalized and they don't get, you know, spam with bad reviews and like forced to shut down. Like, I love when that does not happen. So she is able to keep her gallery. 5 years later, she's still thriving. Izzy is living in Chicago and she's still in LA. And she's watching the Graham Norton show because she has taste. We see her watching it earlier, like a few years earlier, and she's still watching it because she has retained her taste. And Hayes is on the show playing this beautiful song. I think it's called Go Rogue. Again, whoever wrote the music for this movie did a really good job. He seems to be a solo artist, writing like more emotional music, writing his own music. Seems like he's always been a bit of a songwriter, which is cool because we saw him writing Dance Before We Walk earlier. But he's performing Go Rogue. It's beautiful. Apparently, there's like a full in-character interview that Graham Norton did for this movie for Hayes Campbell. I have not seen it. I'm ashamed to say. I need to like brush up on my lore outside of the movie, okay? I'm being like a fake fan right now. But just the clip they show in the movie is Hayes talking about getting through the tour and then taking a holiday to LA. And Graham was like, oh my God, any reason why LA? And Hayes is like, there's someone I would like to see there. And again, I know that he's a solo artist and it's like a few years after the main hype of the band has like died down. But the way that boy band fans would be all over that shit if that happened, like, even, I don't even know. I feel like even now, if like a member of One Direction, like Harry for sure, definitely, but I feel like if almost any other member said some shit like that, people on the internet would be like going back in the archives of like, who do we know that they were with that live in LA? Like, why could they possibly want to go to LA? Who are they going to see? And I feel like by the next day, people on Twitter would have been like, we know where he's going. Okay, we know who he's going to see. But they don't really, they show the cruelty of fan culture in this movie pretty well. I think they kind of sort of skimp on showing like the next level intellect and just dot connecting that really goes on in this, of the fact that absolutely in a day someone been like, I know where the fuck he's going. Like, we know where he's going. The fans would have known. Yeah. And if I was a fan of that band, then I would have been like, not getting the hate towards her. I was like, can you just let people live their life, like, for the love of God? And then she is watching this interview and she looks all sad in her face because she like thinks that he forgot about her, because she was talking about like, this is a long time, like, you get a chance of happiness, you take it. I told him to take that chance of happiness. She's probably thinking like, oh, he probably met another entertainer, you know, so many people live in LA, it could be anyone, which I understand like the self-doubt of it all. But if I knew that girl, if I knew her and I saw that interview, I'd be like, girl, come on, like, believe in it, okay? Do you believe in a life after love? I can feel something inside me saying, I really don't think I'm strong enough. Like, he's coming to see you. I like would be afraid to put the hope up in her head, but I'll be like, let's be hopeful. Like, let's use context clues, okay? The context clues are screaming at me. He's put it with the lyrics of that song too. I'm like, context clues, main idea has been found, circled, highlighted, italicized. So we all end up being right. And then he comes back to the gallery and they have a look and they share this like beautiful, tearful grin and they can be together. And it's a happy ending, which apparently the ending is unique to the movie. And apparently the author was not happy with that either. So the author seems to kind of dislike everything about the movie adaptation that I enjoy about the movie. So I'm kind of convinced that maybe the movie might actually be better than the book. in a rare circumstance, I have not read the book. I kind of predict that I would enjoy the movie more than I would enjoy the book because the book seems to have like a lot more problematic shit wrong with it. That's basically a summary of the movie and kind of like pretty much all my feelings about it. I went into this like really expecting to be like uncomfortable or just cringe really hard and have it be like a super obvious fanfic movie. Apparently this is not based on a fanfic, but apparently it also kind of is. Definitely reads like a fanfic based movie type beat. I think it's really fucking cute. I kind of love the love story. I feel like we can agree in real life a relationship like this probably would not work, but I've explained my philosophy on it generally. Fully developed brains, consenting, trusting, healthy relationship, good communication, do what you need to do, honey, boo, fly your own flight, spread your wings. Hello. I just finished editing this video and I wanted to add in some things that I really enjoyed about it. One, I am disappointed in myself, honestly, that it didn't occur to me to mention how much I loved Nicholas Galatzine, I think is his name. I loved his singing. He did all of his own singing for this movie. Oh my god, looking at the ring light is making me realize how fucking filthy my glasses are. Anyway, his singing was so incredible. I want him to release an album. And I didn't really mention it throughout my summary, but there were a couple of central objects throughout the movie that I love how they kept kind of coming back to them. Like the painting that I mentioned, the Unclose Me painting, it's connected to when they tell each other that they feel everything or they feel everything with each other. It's connected to the concept of feeling everything because that's what Solène feels when she looks at the painting. So that significance of it, and then like the significance of the watch. He left it initially at her house when she didn't want to meet up again to like give an excuse to meet up again, and then later on he leaves it as like a reminder of him. The significance of that was really full circle and beautiful. So there's some really good symbolism there. But yeah, mainly his voice. I'm obsessed with his voice. He's so fucking talented. It's insane. And his range, yeah. The world may have been sleeping on Nicholas slightly, or maybe he's just finally being given some good fucking material. Either way, it's a slay for him, and I love it. I just kind of love this movie. I love the chemistry. I love the music. I could have done with a little bit better writing. Like even just acknowledging in the dialogue some of the things that come up in my head, like if there was a moment when she's breaking up with him because of the hate that her daughter is getting, if there was maybe a thing of like, that's not going to stop it, right? The hate's just going to continue. Like, we might as well be happy. Like, if there was a little more acknowledgement of, like, what the audience was thinking, some moments making it slightly more mature and also adding some more emotional dimension beyond just, like, two damaged people that have damage and are less damaged with each other. Like, it could have been, like, a little less cliche, but I feel like they knew what the girly pops wanted with this one, and they kind of really fucking delivered, and I kind of needed this at this point in my life. So I'm kind of a fan of The Idea of You. I'm kind of low-key trash for it because I'm kind of trash for trashy romantic trash. So I hope y'all enjoyed my summary and commentary on The Idea of You. Maybe one day I will read the book and maybe see how it compares. Let me know if you've read the book and what you feel about it. And thank you for listening. This was a really kind of improv thing, but like this movie is taking up too much of my brain space and I just need to share the impact it has had on me with all of you. Yeah, I hope you have a lovely day and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.